Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to my channel, The Daily DIYer. I have a huge twist on today's thrift flip video. I'm not taking you to the thrift store this time, I'm taking you with me to the flea market. I also want to thank the Original Super Glue for sponsoring today's video. This is an event that our area hosts about once or twice a year. We had the most beautiful and warm, sunshiny day on this Saturday, so we all headed out as a family to go find some treasures. We definitely enjoy doing this together. We love thrifting, we love hunting for bargains, and we also love finding those one-of-a-kind and unique things at great prices. And this booth in particular, I had definitely hit the jackpot. I found several things, and each item was only $5 each, even this great old footstool, and also all of those ladders were only $5 each. I couldn't believe it. This wash basin I almost took home with me, but it was $40 and I was trying to stay on a budget, so $20 is all I spent this day on these thrift store finds. I even had my daughter help me pick the perfect ladder. I found one that was super unique. It was old, and I think it was the back side of a ladder, not the front side that you would step on. So that's the one I grabbed from this booth. I wanted to show you all four of those items that I grabbed for only $5 each. It was such a great, fun, exciting day, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to thrift flip these and give them new life. And all of these toolboxes were only $5 each, if you can believe that. I had a hard time picking, but I ended up with this smaller one that had kind of a bluish tint to it, perfect for our back patio. I loved the rust on it and the aged look on it. And so this one, we are actually going to create a succulent garden for that I can keep on our back patio this summer. Those are one plant that I can actually keep alive. So I headed to Walmart. I found these great giant packs of succulents. They were about $10 each. And that was a bargain versus the ones that you purchased individually that were about $5 or $6 each. So I got several succulents for only $10. So I did is, of course, just added some soil into my toolbox first, and then broke apart each one of those succulents and sort of arranged them into the taller ones in the back, the smaller and shorter ones in the front. Once I had all of my succulents planted, I added some more dirt to the top to make sure they were nice and planted and all the roots were covered, and then took some of these pebbles, you can find these at Dollar Tree, and I added that on top of the soil. I also had a gnome that I spray painted from Dollar Tree last year, and I tucked and kind of hid him into this planter too. So cute. And I also decided that I didn't want this taking up this table, actually work on this table and do some of my gardening and things on there. So I decided to lift it. I have this old frame on the siding with this wreath, and I've had it for a couple years, so I decided to give that an update too and give this succulent garden a new place to live. So these are hooks you can find at Dollar Tree. I decided to just add those right onto the front of my old window. I also took the wreath off, and then was going to also add some wood to the top of this to create a shelf for my succulent garden to sit on and give this a completely new purpose. Once I had my hooks onto that window, I found a piece of scrap wood that was a 1x8. I cut it down to about 30 inches long. Since it's gonna be going outside, I also took some polyacrylic and sealed the wood in so it could withstand all of the weather and temperature changes outside. Now what you'll notice is our Dollar Tree hooks do not have holes in them, so we can't screw up through these hooks into our wood to secure them into place. So what I'm going to be doing instead is using Total Tech by the Original Super Glue. This is an amazing adhesive, you guys. It is an all-in-one, heavy duty, not just an adhesive, but it's a sealant as well. I love this stuff because I can use it on anything. It's going to work perfectly because we're going to need to bond our wood onto those metal hooks. I also love it because I can use it inside and I can use it outside because it is all weather, and you can even use it underwater, if you can believe that. So recently I used it in a Dollar Tree DIY project where I created this side table for outside. I will link that video in the iCards and at the end of this video, so if you want to see how to do that, I will make sure to link it so you can check that out next. But basically it is so simple. You just run your adhesive on the tops of your hooks, and I'm making sure to run a generous bead of glue. I also love this because you can replace the cap right on top, and you don't have to use too much of this for your projects, and this stuff will last and last for you. Once I had my adhesive on those hooks, I laid my wood shelf right on top, made sure to press down pretty firmly so that it would stay secured. It's only gonna take about an hour to dry, but it takes 24 hours to cure completely. I then sat my brand new Toolbox Succulent Garden right on top. I actually just went ahead and did this because it's pretty heavy, so it's going to help keep our glue from moving around while it sets up. So it kind of, I just went ahead and decorated it up, accessorized, because it's not gonna move now for us. I also love now that these hooks make a great and perfect spot for tools, your gardening tools, and I also had some extra room on that shelf for additional storage too. If you'd like to learn more about Total Tech, I will make sure to have a link down in the description box where you can learn more and find out where you can purchase this. But big awesome thing is you can find it at Hobby Lobby, which I love. Now on to our next project, which are these cute baskets. I could kick myself for only purchasing one of these because they were only $5 each, like I said. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it on its side and give it some shelves. So I had to do some measuring. Obviously the inside of the basket was smaller than the outside, so I even had to cut a few extra little angles in there to kind of create some custom shelves, but it was so easy. I basically cut a 1x4 down to the largest measurement on my basket, and then figured out about the angle that I needed to create the inside of my smaller angle of the shelf. And mine just happened to be about 16 inches. I probably could have gone a little bit less than that, but these shelves work perfectly for me. I just set up my miter saw, cut those angles, and then had the angles that I needed so that it was smaller on the inside but wider on the outside to create those custom shelves. Now I went ahead and cut 2 shelves for my basket, and then went ahead and sanded them all down so they were smooth. If you can't, of course, find something similar to this at a flea market or a thrift store, you can even head to the craft store or department stores. A lot of them have similar wire baskets where you could recreate this look. I had tons of these hooks from IKEA. I bought one of these big kits to have on hand. My hooks were not open and I needed them open, so I just took some pliers and pulled them apart so I had a little space. And what I'm gonna do is add these little hooks onto the edges of my shelf. I pre-drilled 2 holes into each end. You don't have to have a drill to pre-drill. You can always just screw these right into the ends. The pilot holes just make it a little bit easier to twist these hooks into those spaces. These hooks are going to sit right on top of those side wires to create our base for our shelves. The great thing is too, since these cup hooks screw in and out, you can kind of adjust as you need them to make sure your shelves will sit nicely on those side wires of your basket. And like I said, I cut 2 shelves for this. I also really like that the bottom of the basket sort of acts as a shelf too. I just took it inside, added it to my shiplap wall, and accessorized with some smaller accessories. So fun and cute. I would love to hear how you would repurpose this project, whether you would use it indoors or out in your home. Now I feel like I got a good deal on this ladder, as the bunch said that they were only $5 each, but when I got home, my ladder actually said it was $10. So I felt like I got an even better deal. I loved this ladder because it was so unique, and that is kind of what pulled my attention to it, and that's why it came home with me. So because this is going to be inside, I did want to clean it up. So I sanded it all down, washed it off, let it dry, made sure to get any of the splinters and everything off of there so that it would be okay to use inside. One side of this ladder actually had metal up the side. I originally wanted to put hooks into the sides of this, but since I had that metal on the side, I decided to just start tying things onto it instead. So I'm using some jute and some scissors, and at the top, since there wasn't a rung, I used whatever those, like, I guess the paint setter that, you know, if it was all put together, you'd kind of have that little shelf on your ladder. Those little parts that kind of folded in and out, I tied the jute around that and then tied a sign onto the front. And that kind of gave the illusion that I had a rung there, even though I didn't, and kind of covered up that big gap at the top with that. I also tied on a cute little wood sign that had a little hanger on the top. I believe this was from Hobby Lobby. I also added a wreath and a bucket so that I could add some flowers and some wooden beads too. So I had fun accessorizing this. Again, this is what it looked like before, and still keeping with the integrity of this old ladder, I just sort of added a few accessories onto it so it would look kind of more like a shelf or display piece, and even put some of my antique crocks around the base. I may actually take this outside. I have lots of strawberries I need to plant, and I'm so worried about the bunnies in our backyard eating them, so they may get a home on this ladder. And then, oh my goodness, I fell in love with this horrible looking step stool or footstool. The fabric was awful, but I knew this thing had some really great bones, and I was so excited to get it cleaned up because I knew the wood finish on this was just going to make it come to life. I didn't ever have plans of painting this because I love the finish on old wood like this. So I did take a drill and take it all apart first. Well, I basically just took the top off because we're going to be reupholstering that. And basically all I did to the bottom bottom was clean it up. I used some simple green to spray it, and then I used a scrubber to scrub it all down, and then also a cloth, a dry clean cloth, to kind of wipe it down and get any of the extra gunk off. Made sure it was nice and sanitized. Yep, and look at this. I knew once I got it all cleaned up that this beautiful finish was going to come right out. It just reminds me of my grandparents' house and the antiques, and I just couldn't paint over it. But let me know down in the comments below if you would have painted it or if you would have left it. Then I kind of had to get my arsenal of tools out to get this fabric off the seat and the cushion. They didn't use staples, they used upholstery tacks for this fabric. And so I had a screwdriver, I got my scissors out, I even got some pliers out, and my putty knife, anything I could do to pry up these heavy duty, obviously very old upholstery tacks. And then it's always fun to peel back that fabric and see what's on the other side. And it was definitely just kind of like a dull, bland, other ugly fabric. But we're gonna be using this as the base to reupholster with. So I took some carpet cleaner and scrubbed this thing down majorly. And then I also took my Microban 24 and pretty much hosed this down too to make sure it was nice and sanitized. And we're gonna be reupholstering this with some drop cloth. I have drop cloth as curtains, and so I wanted to kind of match and go with that theme. So I grabbed out my drop cloth that I had previously washed. You can just take regular drop cloth. You can find it at Walmart or even Home Depot, different hardware stores, and just send it through the washing machine. It softens everything up so that you can use it for a fabric. So I'm just centering this in a spot on the drop cloth and cutting it out wider and longer than my base. And then because actually I could not find my staple gun, I took a lesson from whoever originally reupholstered this and used my upholstery tacks that I could find. These you can find in the sewing section at craft stores and department stores. I am using just some regular silver ones here for this. You're not gonna see it, so it doesn't really matter what they look like. I'm using some pliers to hold them down in place and then taking my hammer to secure them into that wood. And I just went from side to side and then tackled those corners last and put a few extra in to make sure all of my fabric was nice and tight all the way around the edges. Then I took it and added it right back into my stool. Now, of course, you could do brand new wood and use new foam for a new cushion if you wanted to, but if you repurpose what is already there, it makes the process super duper quick and fast. So I just added those original screws right back into the corners so it lined up perfectly. Made for a quick thrift flip, and I am loving the new look of it. I would love to know which one of these projects was your favorite. You can leave those down in the comment section below for me. Also, I will have that video with the outdoor Dollar Tree planter popping up on your screen that you can go head over and watch next. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I would love to have you subscribe for new ideas and tutorials that I share with you here every single week. Thanks so much again, and I will see you in the next one. Happy crafting!